Once you join us, please try as much as you can to share. Probably more than what chema and Checheda and Obia and any beer in 80. And a bench tia with me. And then in Chechen and getting Timbia, a bear tia one. Na per se, you see me be near to be a second granted, it to me a boy. And now, where the beer and when you have a mepese soon the beer, the Mudoka cry. Need meeting in maybe so that it can help us to actually understand certain things around us. I'm doing the sharing, so please try as much as you can to share. It will do all of us a greater good. Wow. You see, I always say in every bad situation, there's something which needs to be learned. In every bad situation, there is something which we can learn from it. So what you say? This very coronavirus that we all know is really bringing something on board. It's drawing the minds of humans towards something, trying to help us and make us learn something. Internet topic near the coronavirus and a libation once on your video. Then I check me person made the libation near the eddy kind. Med libation eddy kind, made coronavirus pneumonia, maybe the beddy kind. Some coronavirus eddy came here. Please share. Once you join us, please try as much as you can to share. We will first begin with the coronavirus. The truth is, I am not a health expert. I'm not a health expert. So me to member had no member health guidances. I'm not an expert in that. The experts in the health field, it is their duty to do that. But I want us to look at any addition who a bit my a film. Any idea or bad idea and nature itself is trying to teach us. It may or may not be say nipanaye, but in everything there is still something to learn. So the wise man or the wise person will always try as much as they can to get or to learn the good from every situation. Do we get it? So please, once you join us, please try and share. You see, a wise man once said something. Anything that affects you is teaching you something. Anything that affects you is trying to teach you something. That's what a wise man once said. And I grew up to understand it as I was growing older. I realized the greatest lessons in life comes from our failures, comes from our difficulties, comes from the things that we do not want to see, or comes from the things that we were not happy with. You see, it will be amazing. If I want to not send you away, but I want to say Coronavirus we buy no. See the type of campaign also. Clean your hands. Use sanitizers on your hands. Keep your surroundings clean. When you're coughing, see obo kata. See the type of guidances which were being given. Certain things that we always never took it serious, and I never be a young fire than young fire. I bu ye negusu de bia and no akoya de a afedie. Ya de a etu atese a ye den ye plan radio, or we are all fighting for what? Fighting for a solution or trying to what? Prevent ourselves. Saya the way Sani may be a young for Obunya then Emma no ya brabom, and then I had the way we actually then yet. Be in a very good ventilated place. Men shall be a nipadom iden, a buso. Baby a shujina, baby I'm from a panya then into me than in Chemo. Look at all these guidances. Look at all these safety precautions are there, yet to film. A chama who be say, me femuno. Me shemoa. A chama who be say. Nipa Nia who a wumbuno. Adisi hunu bebree den ewo mu yeden e de ma. Na nipa ye nije anasa yeden ye mfa hu de hu hia nkese asin bibi biara. Inti ebre biara nipa ni enije anasa den nipa efa hu de so be den e betena so no anasa nipa mfa hu de be de e be ka hye no. Na nipa pray den ade ne ho ene ehu aba and people are getting scared. The fear itself is enough to kill you. But I only want to say fear shouldn't be used in relation to this. Instead of you to fear, why don't you rather invest that fear into following the safety precautions and guarding yourself? Obo by senya wonye de wunya sa yade we bi. Adentina wonya ni samum. So me nim die mu no, nyam pese me kyene say. Yade we e ya obo ade ni nim die, emfa no obi o hye, and I said emfa say e ya laboratory. And emfa wo say nipa bi mfom so ayewe nam na e de baaye. But what observe you realize say, nyeme bia wo mbu a wonye ma ho no, e na ade no so ye de e kyerɛ. So in nature itself, despite whatever we are suffering from, nature itself is trying to teach us in a way. Although it might be somebody's creation from a lab or whatever, or somebody's own mistake. Or what any nim dear be. Now, what any nim your chain, they say. Nyedi kind nipa unfa who dear then, eh, here. Nietosum we are see a wuti. Ma weni nko dan ma weni nko wiase ne abodi a wo ye dan wutim na fa oboni ni de den ema surroundings semeka se woni pa mu a wo no se wante wo potem, or if you don't sanctify or what observe cleanliness in your environment na den na why na den na why den why now wonya hwe inti ema these safety precautions are there ye ma yen efa coronavirus ne ho no ema ne nsore da ensi wo bra coronavirus ya de abade atwam na emom nimdia na ye besua fi ha no e ya de a ye fa ye den ye fembu ye mbra eno ne ade ampese neka. So yes, the coronavirus is what is here, but it is here through nature's own principle, trying to teach you how to be on your own and live on your own. It's trying to teach you how to take life simple. It's trying to teach you that yes, we are here to survive, but at the same time, our survival depends on our fellow human beings. So we need all of us and we need ourselves. Say yarebowa ube hia unua so beden obeso mu afado aye de hospital, right? You need health workers to work on you. This disease or sickness is trying to show you self-respect and respect for others. This disease itself is also trying to what? To teach us. This is what we can learn from it. Respect for our environment. respect for nature. This disease is trying to teach us humility and love for mankind and nature. It is also trying to tell us man is bound to face anything. Now, near whatever is happening to your friend or your brother, you are not different from that. Whatever is happening to him can happen to you. So don't make merry over the downfall of your brother. Because the same fate that your brother is facing, you can also face the same thing. This is what I learned. And as I said, cleanliness is next to godliness. And all the safety precautions concerning this disease is all about keeping yourself clean. Whatever you do, wash your hands with soap and water. Clean your surroundings. Don't be in a crowded environment. Don't be in a crowded environment. Observe all these principles together with all the principles. This tells you that what you ignore or what we always do not give respect to. So I always ask myself, so if you leave your environment very dirty, when you eat, you leave it in the gutter, leave it everywhere. Like what? Littering the environment. Anyhow, not corona who will observe what? Hygiene on your body. Are you doing the right thing? Why observe hygiene in your body? Or why should you clean yourself? Whilst you yourself, the environment in which you live in itself is not healthy or hygienic. Are you doing a service to yourself? You are fighting corona, but your environment is not clean. It will generate or become a breeding ground for mosquitoes, for other diseases, and your neighbors will be suffering from all these diseases. So now protecting yourself, thinking that cleaning yourself or washing your hands all the time, using sanitizers, wearing mask, and whatever it is, just to avoid this disease and its accompanying side effects. Are you doing a service to yourself? Are you doing a service to your brother? So don't just go out there, buy sanitizer, buy soap and water, wash your hands all the time, buy mask, face mask, and not going into current environments. Don't just go out there and do that. But as you follow that, be ready to also clean your environment where you live yourself. Because that's more deadly to you than what you are fighting against. We've caused more diseases with our way of life, with our cleanliness principles, more than what this corona is posing to us. So if there is a cleanliness to be observed in this short time, then it should be a cleanliness that will live and continue forever and ever. This is my advice on this corona. I am not a health expert, but this is what I can learn from observing these activities ongoing. But just what you say, I always say, nature is always our teacher. No matter what you think, always learn from nature. And this corona has actually taught me, and is teaching us that cleanliness is the greatest thing that we need. Cleanliness, not just of body, but cleanliness of thoughts. Because that is what is within you. And cleanliness of spirit or soul. So we don't just need cleanliness of our bodies, but as we try as much as we can to observe cleanliness of our body, let's try as much as we can to also observe cleanliness of our thoughts. If you think right in relation to your health, automatically your outward life will also reflect that. Your outward environment will also reflect that. Your decision making will also reflect that. So as we are fighting to protect ourselves, safeguard ourselves, let's also fight to safeguard and sanctify our minds with good and positive thoughts. That's where the greatest demand for cleanliness is. If you want any advice or any medication on coronavirus, I am not a health expert. And I wouldn't like to be all-knowing or know it all. Go to the health experts. Afterwards, I'll be sharing something on my page on some of the regulations given by World Health Organization and the health experts. They are the ones who can guide you on the right things to do. Anyways, let's come to our topic. Now, our very topic is the art or science of libation. The art or science of libation. Now, this very topic is a very broad topic. Libation idea emudopa. So, what is libation? We've all been saying, or we've always been hearing, libate in order to call your ancestors. Pour libation to pray to your ancestors. Pour libation to protect yourself. Pour libation for your ancestors' guidance. Pour libation, pour libation. But how do we pour libation? Why are we pouring libation? When should we pour libation? Where should we pour libation? To whom should we pour libation? Time, place, circumstance. I always say, and what is the intelligence behind libation itself? What is the science behind that activity? Libation is a science. Don't think it as a culture alone. It is a science. It is a spiritual science, and it is what? An art. Which needs to be what? To be mastered, and mastered well. And not just a culture which just needs to be done because you think it should be done. So what is the true science of libation? I always say every word has its own meaning. That's why we say if you want to spell out all the sounds in a word, we call it what? Spell. So, what does libation mean? According to the dictionary, libation means to pour, to flow. But the word libation actually comes from what? From the root word libare, or what? Or liberty, or liberty, which is a Latin word, which means what? To pour, to offer, to make a drink offering unto a god, a spirit, an energy, or an entity. So it is a religious or a spiritual what? Activity of offering liquid or pouring onto for what? In the form of what? Of a spiritual sacrifice or offering onto an energy or god or goddess. So the actual word libate means to pour. So libation is the state of what? Of pouring as what? As a drink what? Offering. Right? Thank you. So now there is one thing I would like us to understand. And this is first question. I've defined libation. So let's go to the second one. The second one is in libating. What are the materials that can be used to libate? What are the materials that can be used for libation? This is a very, very important topic. What are the materials that can be used for libation? Now that we know libation is a drink offering, let me answer this question before going into what materials can be used to pour libation. Now, which people are qualified to pour libation? Practically speaking, libation is a spiritual art or science. I didn't say it's a culture to some people. It is a spiritual art and a science. So, when you go to Shingon Buddhism, they practice what? Libation. When you go into Shintoism, they pour libation. When you go into Hinduism, they pour libation. Even in Christianity, we have the esoteric Christianity, we have the exoteric Christianity. The esoteric Christianity are the what? Are the practitioners of the right principles and rituals of the Christian religion. I'm not talking about these Pentecostal churches. There is libation. When you go into what? Into Islam, the Sufi sect of Islam, also the Sufi sect, the Shia, the Yazidi, also practice libation. The ancient Egyptians were libating. The Sumerians were libating. The Greeks were libating. So libation is a universal culture and principle, not only limited to a people. It is a universal law, and that is why it is being practiced by all and sundry. Are we following? Thank you. So, Africans, we practice libation. So libation is not only limited to the African. It is a spiritual science. When I say it is a spiritual art and science, that means it is a spiritual act of what? Of communication with the universe or God or law or the energies that be. And the energies of the universe is not only limited to the African. Why? Because in libating, when you call upon the sun energy, you didn't create the sun. The Africans weren't the ones that created the sun. The Indians didn't create the sun. The earth goddess, Asasiya, or what every culture will name it, did what? Wasn't created by you, by any culture in the world. The spirit or whatever wasn't created by anybody. So this science is a universal science, not limited to a people. But in the practice of it, each and every people have a way and manner of doing it that becomes their spiritual culture. So in the practice of what? Of this spiritual what? Science. And the way and manner that group of people performs it becomes their spiritual culture. So even with the Egbers, their spiritual culture with libation, they use water and what? And akpele powder. That's kondo powder. They put kondo powder what? In water to libate. They use sugarcane what? Alcohol. They don't use any form of alcohol. But the sugarcane what? Alcohol. To libate. To the Nagna. In libation, they use burukutu, kurukutu. Because that is the type of drink and pito over there, which is found over there. So that has become their spiritual culture in relation to what? To libation. The Indians pour libation, and in their libation, they use honey, milk, and ghee, or turmeric water. That is their form of what? Of spiritual culture in relation to what? To the universal law of what? Or universal science of what? Of libation, or the spiritual science of libation. So practically speaking, libation is not only limited to a people. It is a spiritual science that whoever knows that and does that, what? Will reap the benefits of what? Of what the action being done. This is what I want you to understand. So each and every culture, should you go into practicing all these cultures just as I have done, you realize that all these principles are there. This tells you this law or this science is a universal what? Spiritual science. Not limited to a what? To a race, to a color, to your gender, to your culture, or to whatever. It is a universal principle which manifests and what? And exists in all realms of what? Of human existence. I want us to tune our mind to that. Now, let's go on to understand something over here. Now, what are some of the materials? I've said it. In libation, we always say libate with alcohol. Here's the secret. In libation, what are the materials that can be used to libate? There are several materials that can be used for libation. Several materials, and I give the materials. You can use water. Bear in mind, in libation, The material that you use should be what? A consumable material. Something that you can drink yourself. Bear in mind, whatever liquid you libate with, whatever liquid that what? That you can, whatever liquid that you can what? That you can what? Offer should be a liquid that can what? That is consumable. Do we get it? So, in libation, you use the materials which are consumable. 1. 2. Look for the material which is easier to be acquired. Right? So, once you get to understand why I'm saying this, you get to understand why the Evers use more of sugarcane. Looking at their land, sugarcane is what? Easy what? Thrive what? On their land. So they are more inclined towards using sugarcane what? Alcohol to libate. They are more inclined to using what? Jachi, which is what? Water mixed with what? Akmele powder. To libate. Because akmele is their what? Is their type of what? Of food, which is easily what? Found within the environment. Maize. Go into what? Into the Ackkham lands. The Ashantis. You find them using what? Akpeteshin. Or what? In sardine to libate. You find them using palm wine. Why? Because in their land, it's easier to find what? A palm tree. Or the oil palm tree. That is why they are using materials which can be easily found within the environment to libate. Go to the north. They are using pito, kurukutu, burukutu. Why? Because these are what? These are the type of materials which are easily found within their environment. And these are the type of drinks which are easily found within the environment. And then they self what? Also consume. In India, they use what? They use honey. They use ghee. Ghee is what? Ghee is type of what? An oil extracted from what? Extracted from the milk of a cow. They use milk because they have abundance of what? Of cows. And they even worship what? The cow. So, you find them using more of the materials which are what? Which are easier what? Within the environment to libate. Go to Syria. Go to Palestine. Palestine. Go to what? Go to what we call that. What we currently call Israel, which is in itself what? Which in itself is just what? A part of what? A part of Palestinian. Go there. They use more of what? Of grape what? Wine. Because on their land, the easier things which can be found over there is pomegranates. So they use more of what? Of grape wine. They use more of what? Of olive oil. Why? Because the olive tree, the grape what? The grape wine, the grapes, just like what? Pomegranates and the others are what? Are easier to be found within the environment. That's why they prepare their liquid from such materials and use it to libation. That's why when you read the Bible, it made mention or reference to this. When Jacob, after dreaming, when he woke up, what did he do? He poured what? An oil upon a stone as a covenant between God, and called that place Peniel or Peniel. When the angel Peniel came to wrestle with him at night, upon waking up, he poured libation over there and called that place Bethel. That is libation being poured with oil. So now what are the materials which are what? Which can be used for pouring what? Libation. We can use water. We can use alcohol. We can use grape wine, soft drink. We can use palm wine. We can use burukutu, kurukutu, odoka. Whoever knows odoka is made from what? Adobe. We can use what? Adobe. We can use what? We can use red oil because we eat and consume red oil. We can use kubeangwa, coconut oil. We can use olive oil. So anything, any material that is consumable can be used in pouring libation. So usually I do say, when people hear people pouring libation with olive oil, they say this one wouldn't work. I ask them, what do you mean? Why wouldn't it work? It will work. Why? Because it is a science which is being followed. Just that the person is using what? A different material which is different from what you are using. That doesn't mean that the material goes against what? The spiritual law of libation. No. Once the science is followed, no matter the material that you use, the result what? Will be achieved. Irrespective of what? Of the material that you used. Because the material or the act or the whole process works on the law of nature. So once you follow the law, the result will come. So when the Christians want to what? Want to erect a new what? A new building. They pour libation. With what? With the olive oil. Praying over there onto the foundation before the building is what? Is erected. That is libation being poured. Do we get it? So libation exists in all forms. Don't limit yourself to alcohol. Don't limit your understanding to only Africans, thinking Africans are the only ones who can pour libation. No. That's a wrong form of what? Of thinking in relation to the what? The universal truths. This is the truth which exists in all things. And one needs to what? To understand this principle in its entirety. So now, libation is the what? Is the spiritual act of what? Of communicating with the universal omnipresence, nature, God, or whatever you call what? You call the energy or the universal manifestation itself. That is what is meant by what? By libation. So libation is a form of prayer. What is prayer? Prayer is a communication. In a communication between what? A person and his or her object of what? Of worship or nature. That is prayer. So what are the forms of prayer that we have? We have libation being what? A form of what? Of prayer. We have meditation and yoga being a form of prayer. We have affirmations being a form of prayer. Even affirmation is a form of what? Of prayer. We have rituals. When you are performing a ritual, you are performing a prayer. Because you are communicating to the universe to perform what? To fulfill your desire. In a way that you want it what? Fulfilled. It is a form of what? Of prayer. So we have several forms of what? Of prayer. Of which libation is just but one of them. Thank you. So now let's continue. I've already given some of the materials which can be used to pour libation. And bear in mind, the materials should be what? Should be easily what? Acquired within the environment. Once you get to understand why, although we pour libation as Africans, but each and every community, each and every culture you go in, the materials that they use to pour libation varies from one place to the other. Why? Because of the easy acquisition, or how they can easily get that thing in that environment, and that becomes what? The basis of their spiritual culture or their libational what? Culture. What is culture? Culture is a way of what? Of doing things. So, conjuration, invocation, prayer, as we always say, prayer itself, prayer, the normal way of prayer, meditation, yoga. These are all forms of what? Of prayer or communication with the universe. Rituals of whatever form, affirmations of whatever form. These are all forms of prayer with the universe. So now, being able to what? To bring evidence or build up evidence from all cultures to prove to you that libation is a universal principle. It's a spiritual art and science which is practiced by all and not limited to only a people, a race and their culture. Now, let me go in to now address how the Africans do it. I wanted to clear your mind so you don't feel so complacent and think and limit yourself in your own thinking, saying that libation belongs to Africans, it's only for Africans. No, it is a spiritual science. So if you really want to pursue spirituality to the highest degree, know the universality of what? Of the spiritual principles. And that's how you can grow spiritually. So point number 1. When do we pour libation? When do we pour libation? This is the answer to that question. Libation could be poured at every time, at all times. Libation can be poured at all times. Bear in mind. Now, there are types of libation. We have deity libation. Deity libation, say, ojina bosumenim egu insadiama sa abosom no afre no. That is deity libation. Those ones comes with what? With a principle. Ebia sa abosom dem wo yenwura honum da se. Yenfa say ebia yenwura ho fiada. That means a Friday you can't go there and think about pouring libation or making what? A drink offering to the deity. Yengun sam friend and father and for Jumedi and Shanensa. Do you get it? Sada no se eyeda ono no empa. Yenko no ho nya bisa anase yenkogun sam frɛ bisa. But se eba se o ye offering dia obetuma ye. So with deity libation, it depends on what is being done at that point in time. So ukoye bisa with the deity libation na eyene da boni a ana ye na fo fida yengun sam mani bisa de wo that day, you know. So at that time you can go in there and do it. Bear in mind, there are several forms of offering. We are discussing the drink offering. Now, when can I pour libation? Medical church say, "Abribia bet megunsa." So look at yourself, negunsa. Adibako also hunye. The only thing which is most important for you to observe is that in pouring libation, make sure as you are pouring, nobody will come to what? To disturb you. So the most important principle that you need to know and observe is that you wouldn't be disturbed as you go on performing your libation. So libation can be poured at all times, provided you will not be disturbed. Provided you will not be disturbed as you pour libation. Into wo ya de na wonim sa de a wo ye no ye be frew anase bibi abedwuntwa wonam a yengun sa bre no. That's the only time which you also need to know and observe. Into jebre ne nya bre ne ye se wo ya de mpo na wo ya ma wo a omo ye de omo ne ye de ehun said they need to excuse you for you to have your privacy and do that thing. That is the time. So that you can perform libation at all times. But at the time that you have a time to perform, listen, but at the time that you have a time to what? To perform, then you can perform libation. Now before you pour libation, I'm going to give you 2 principles that you need to know. And 3 rules. There are rules concerning libation which needs to be well understood. There are rules in pouring libation which we all know and what? And should be what? And should be what? We should be cautious and careful and aware of. Don't libate when you are in anger. Ebufuom. Echremetrasi nienti a ugunsa. Mengunsa eden ewe ebufuom. Don't libate when in anger. 2. Don't perform libation when you are busy, when you are too busy with other activities. When I say, what did I say? When you are too busy with other activities. Jebrema ho nefaye. Don't perform libation when you are stressed and under pressure. Don't perform libation when you are what? When you are under pressure. Be in your right state of mind to perform libation. Why are we saying this? Because in libation, your state of mind, your thoughts, and your state of emotions is what is transmitted into the what? Into the energy that you generate when you are what? Performing libation. And when you're under pressure, when you're under stress, bear in mind, whatever you say at the point of libation is the energy you are sending. It's a command you are giving to the universe. Do you understand me? It's a command you are giving to the universe. So when you are under pressure, when you are in anger, when you are too busy, you might make certain utterances. Why? Because in libating, whatever you say, you should be able to recall whatever word you spoke over there. It is very, very, very important. Saint yellow bit me come baby, and I'll bit me yard na adene ye then enya no sunsun so on tiasie. You made mention of something. O can bibi, e shebo bi, e kan asem bi. Ah, one kasa wo refi wo ho, and that thing will come back and demand. So when you are libating, in pempi etasi, obitimi fa insanin kosia no de abodua. Yes. Ebufo no gile mu no, ene ahohom no obo mudi efrefre omo no. Esani ebufo no owo mu no due to the anger. Due to the anger. At that point in time, even the name of the gods that he or she called, after leaving that anger, she can't even remember those names. So now, even at the point of say, diamone do ekwansa diabono na aye asem diamano. Bosuma he na ofreye, di men na uboye. There would you know that you've committed a greater crime against your own self. Bosuma he na ofreye, di he na uboye, because you are what? You are angry. You couldn't even, you yourself can't even remember the name of deities or whatever you called upon. This is something you need to take greater note of. So that's why these things are always advised. Samson ugunsa, as you were what? As you were pouring libation, asking or doing whatever you were for the purpose for which you were pouring the libation. And you're not concerned, and you're not in the right state of what? Of mind to pour libation. And I'll pour Now the result of whatever you ask for has come. Now how do you give thanks? If you made any utterance, what was the utterance? Yes, in Pepi no yen na yato yen, ni Pepi a wasa sisu bia told that we've all experienced that thing before. Where you can even say something and you've even forgotten that you meant the opposite of what you even said. Right or wrong? Practically, we've all experienced that thing before. If you have experienced that thing before, please let me comment it over here. Show in the comment section. Yes, where you said something, and you were realizing that what Nyameka and even contrary to what I wanted to say. Have that happened to you before? That is why it is always advisable that when you're libating, be more careful and be more conscious and aware of the things you say. That's why you need to be in the right condition to do these things. Because you don't just alter words and forget. At the same time, you don't just alter words Meanwhile, you yourself, it's not in sync with the things you say. Ebia, adia making manin kwaya say, but in your sayings, because you're not conscious or aware or in tune or concentrated on the thing you yourself is saying. Sanka e manin ko ebia, adia we mihiana china, uko kan say mihiana dachi, and I say mihiana endra, and I say mihiana make say mihiano 2 weeks time, and I say ebia adia we manin ye sembra, adini mihiano kwan we sombra. Uko kan say uhiano kwan we so. So you realize that your utterance and the thing you said is contrary to what you yourself is expecting to achieve. So the result will come. The result will manifest without you yourself even realizing that the result or the outcome of what I myself was looking for has manifested. Why? Because you made what? A contrary utterance to what you yourself was expecting to have. So the result came, but you yourself was not aware of the result, because that wasn't what you yourself said. You were expecting something opposite, but you made mention and affirmed or decreed something opposite. That is why you need to be more conscious and aware when you are pouring libation. So do you know why these 3 rules of libation is very important? So when I say libation, it's not just as we say, oh, kogun sama nananom. It's not just that. It entails a lot, because it is a science and an art which you need to continuously practice and repeat to be able to master it and perfect. It is something you grow in this practice. As you continue practicing, you grow in experience, in understanding, in the wisdom of each practice. So it's not just a culture, you just wake up, it is my culture, so let me go and pour libation. And you need a good teacher who understands what he teaches and who has practiced to prove whatever he is saying, to teach you these things I'm saying. So I repeat the 3 rules, the 3 golden rules of libation. I repeat it again. Don't libate when in anger. 1. Are you listening? Don't perform libation when you are in anger. You are what? You are capable of what? Of committing mistakes against your own self. 1. Bear in mind, in pouring libation, you are sending an energy, and after the energy have affected the result that you need, it will come back to you. So if you project anger energy, the anger energy will go and fulfill the desire and then come back to you. A spirit can never carry your karma. You will bear the result of your own karma. So if out of anger you made so many utterances against your brother, your fellow, bear in mind you wouldn't go scot-free. You will bear the consequence of your own utterances, because you guided that energy to fulfill or to do that thing which you want. And you bear the karma for such actions. Are you following? Thank you. So now, let me teach you how libation operates, the science behind libation, for you to understand it better. And not just do it because you think it is for your ancestors, so you just want to honor your ancestors. You just want your desires fulfilled. It comes with what? It's a science. It comes with its own laws, principles, connotations, clauses, which all needs to be known. Are you listening? Thank you. So, this is what you need to know. Libation takes on the emotions of the libator to project its energy. Libation takes on your own emotional self to libate, to achieve your desires. So whenever you are libating or you're performing libation, this is what happens. At the point of performing libation, this is what happens. Your thoughts, your words, your deeds, and then the energy that you conjure or invoke. Me say then, adwin a wodwen, nsɛm a woka wo ne yɛ a woyɛ ebere a wogu nsa any energy at the point wo frɛ na ba ɛho no saa nneɛma fo we na ɛden edi udwuma ɛden ɛde ma wo. These are the things that work on what? On fulfilling your desire at the point of libation. Now, your emotions is the product of your own feelings. So at the point of pouring libation, yourself, you are projecting your own self in the libation. So this is what it is. When you pour libation per se with water or with alcohol, this is what happens. As you are pouring libation upon the land, you are speaking at the same time, you are decreeing. You are sending what? A thought energy through what? The energy of what? Of sound. Sound energy. And what is energy? Energy is power, the ability to do. Energy is what? A spirit. So, as you pour the alcohol or what? Whatever it is on the ground, and what? And then what? You decree or affirm. In the pouring, you are projecting your own thoughts, your own emotions into the activity itself. Wherever thought goes, energy follows. What did I say? Wherever thought goes, energy what? Follows. Wherever thought goes, baby, adwene beko bia ahoden yeden ediechi tumi yeden ediechi. So in pouring libation, you are pouring with water. Bear in mind, within yourself, there is water in you. There is water in you. So in pouring water, you are pouring what? An aspect of your own inner self, of your own beingness, through what? The symbol or the activity of what? Of what you are pouring as libation. You are speaking. In speaking, you are projecting what? Your thoughts. And your thought is to what? Is to impregnate the activity. And what you do with your what? With the type of consciousness that you are projecting. In pouring alcohol, this is what happens. Within the alcohol, there is what? There's an element over there, which is known as what? As ether. The ethanol. See, this is how it is. After this, I will be coming to explain the things to say when you are pouring what? Libation. Let me check the time and how far we've come. "46 minutes. Okay, I think we can be able to do something. Today I'll make it very short. Within an hour, I'm done. So that we can continue. So, in pouring the libation, this is what happens. Projecting your thoughts, doing the activity, that's your action. Your thoughts, your words, birthing your thoughts through what? Through the words of mouth, to affirm and decree to the universe what you are asking for. Pouring the water upon the earth, or pouring the alcohol upon the earth, saying what you want to say, calling energies from what? Around the universe to be present at the point of libation. You are doing a great activity over there. Bear in mind, water has what? Has a memory of its own self. Water has a what? A memory of its own self. Everything within the universe has a memory, has a mind within it. Science will tell you each and every what? Aspect or each and everything within the universe is made up of what? It's made up of what? Atoms. And these atoms are what? Are energy. Or these atoms are what? Are the smallest indivisible aspect, a particle of what? Of an element. That's what science what? Describes. And this smaller particle of that what? Of that material possesses the quality of that material. When we break up the atom, we can find what? We can find protons, neutrons, electrons. And the electrons are always moving constantly around what? The center or the nucleus of what? Of the atom. Right? what you need to realize is these electrons which are moving in constant motion, these same electrons are what, when they are set in motion, produces what? Electricity. So I always say electricity in simple words is also what? Electrons in what? In motion. Electrons in motion. Electrons in motion. Now would you get to understand why we can now generate energy from air, water, the sea, the earth, heat, temperature, the sun? Why? Because these very aspects carries within themselves these electronic what? Particles, which when set in motion can be tapped to generate what? Electricity and energy for use. Are you following? So this one needs to be understood and realized. As you pour libation, you are projecting yourself in the libation itself. Now this libation takes on your own astral self, your own emotional self, to project its energy. So as you are pouring the libation, you are impregnating what? The mind of the material, or the consciousness of the material, with what? With what? With the thoughts or the consciousness of yourself. And at the point of libating, and you calling the energies, you're also projecting your emotional self. So the state of your emotions. So if you're angry, if you're angry, at that point of libating, you are projecting what? The emotional self or the astral self of what? Of anger at the point of libation. If you are happy, you are projecting what? That state of what? Of happiness through your libation. If you are sad, you are projecting what? You are projecting what? That emotional state of what? Of sadness through your libation. So whatever state of mind you are in, and the state of emotions that you are in, at the point of libation, the energy which is being generated as you libate becomes impregnated with what? With your astral form, which is yourself, your emotional self, into that what? Into that thing or that energy which is being generated. So more specifically, this is what you need to understand. In libation, it is not the material or the liquid which you are pouring that is of much importance, but the devotion, the degree to which you have put yourself into the action. Are you listening? It's not about the alcohol you are pouring, how much the alcohol costs, whether it is a 10 million, 1,000 Ghana cedi snap you are using. No. Or whatever it is. No. The level or the degree of what? Of devotion that you put into the activity is what matters. So I always say, in libation, you need a higher level of what? Of concentration to also make your libation what? Very, very effective. If you are libating and you are thinking about something else, it will never manifest. Rather, in your libation, make your mind or project your thoughts and this attention, concentration upon the activity that you do, and your desire or the purpose for which you are doing that, you are pouring that libation. That is where your mind should also be. The Bible will tell you, as a man thinks, so is he, and so will he what? Be. So it's not just about the material you pour, but the mind you put into it. Once you get to understand that it is the intention, the mind, the degree of concentration of the libator that empowers the libation, you now get to understand why somebody can use water to libate, somebody will use milk to libate and they will get the answer they want. Somebody will use what? Honey to libate and they'll get the answer they want. Somebody will use Fanta, which you think is a chemical product, and they will still get the result they want. Somebody will use red wine, which you think is a foreign material, and they'll get the result they want. Somebody will use Schnapp, which you may say Schnapp is a colonial material. Our colonial masters brought us Schnapp, but they will still get the results they want. Why? Because it is not so much dependent upon the material, but the what? The mind and the state of consciousness of the libator. That's where the energy is taken from to what? To fulfill your desire. So the intensity of concentration or the intensity of thoughts is what empowers what? Your libation and the activity. So nowadays, when we get to the next point, or when we get to the deeper or further teachings, you get to understand why you can pour libation and not call upon any name of any god. Just pour libation and say your desires, and it will manifest. If only your thoughts, your mind, your concentration is at the point of what? Of the activity that you do, the result will come. Everybody over here can experiment with that. I have done that, and I know what I'm saying. Don't call any god, don't call any ancestor, don't call any goddess. Just pour libation and even speak with your intentions. Concentration with the what? With the absolute concentration that you can what? You can what? The absolute concentration that was states that you can what? You can assume, and the result will come, irrespective of the god or whatever you didn't mention. That should tell you that it is a science, it is a spiritual science which fulfills itself when the law is followed, and not just a matter of fulfilling culture. It is a science that when it is done with the right principles in place, with the right laws of nature activated, the results will come. Irrespective of whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, a traditionalist, a Buddhist, a Shinto, a Taoist, the result will come. This is what we call practical spirituality. Spirituality knows no culture. It knows no agenda. It knows no what? The only thing it knows is the laws of nature and your soul and your mind. So your mind is a source of the energy that empowers it. Now, afterwards, experiment. Call all the gods in the world. Call all the gods in the world. And still do this thing with what? With your mind or your attention or your concentration on something else. Whilst pouring libation. And let's see whether the result will come. It wouldn't come. So the whole thing depends upon you. Not your ancestors, not whatever. The whole activity depends upon you, the libator. Now let's continue. Where can we pour libation? That's the next point. So what I'm saying is, when you libate with what? With the positive thoughts at the point of libation, the activity will be impregnated with what? With positive what? Energy or thought form. If you libate with a negative thought, the energy which will be generated what? At the point of libation would be impregnated with what? With a negative thought form. Now libation goes deeper to speak of something. When I get there, you get to understand that you can even use libation to build or create a spirit. And the consciousness that you projected into that spirit will become that consciousness, that spirit will derive its energy to serve and serve. So libation is a very deep spiritual science, and not just as we always try to say it. So now where can we pour libation? Thank you. I always say, as you are, so is the what? So is the spirits and energies. What did I say? As you are, so is the spirit and the energies. Pour libation where you will feel comfortable to be. So if you are somewhere and you yourself wouldn't feel comfortable being there, then don't pour libation over there. Because in pouring libation over there, you are projecting your own energy. You are projecting your own self through libation. So that is you being what? Being projected through you. So if you are somewhere and you don't like the environment, Say hoya wutanya. If the environment is very dirty to you, is disgusting to you, then you can't pour libation over there. If you yourself, that environment is disgusting to you, then why do you even pour to somebody? Can you give the food which you yourself do not want? Can you prepare that for your guests and enjoy that food with them? No. You can't what? You can't prepare that food when you have guests and serve them with the same food whilst you and them, or they and you will sit on the same table and eat that same food. If you can do that, then the environment which you yourself wouldn't like to be shouldn't be an environment where you libate and call those energies to be. To be a woman panel, if you're going to libate, then that place should be somewhere that you catch your set now, when you just better now, and now better. You will be happy, you'll feel proud being there. But if you yourself will reject certain environment, wouldn't love to be there, then please, that place is not wholesome to perform libation. So in simple sense, libate where you yourself find it suitable and comfortable for yourself. If you yourself will find it comfortable for yourself to be there, then that place is suitable to libate. So if you'll be happy to sit beside a toilet, excuse me to say, a toilet, a smelly toilet, if you will be comfortable sleeping beside it, living beside it, eating beside it, then please be comfortable to libate where there is shit. But if you can do it, then that place is not suitable for you. So libate where you yourself will find it comfortable to be there. Yourself. Where you hate, the spirit also hates. So we can perform libation and pour libation everywhere. Are you following? Thank you. Now, I'm giving the principles for you to understand even before I come to the process of doing the thing itself. I want you to understand the principles, the law, the pros and cons of it even before I come to the thing itself. This is how we teach. You let the people to understand what you do even before you give them the key. You don't give a gun to somebody without even training him to understand how to use the gun. He will destroy himself. So first, teach him on how to use the gun, the good and the bad side of the gun. Then give him the gun and he'll become a good user of the gun. Are you following? Thank you. So now let's move on and then realize something over here. My next point, let me check my next point. Now let's go to this next point. Now we will discuss when to pour libation, where to pour libation. I've also described the principles which embodies libation. Now let's come to why do we pour libation? I will say, why do we pour libation? We pour libation to connect to the universe, not your roots, not your ancestors. What did I say? We pour libation to connect to the universe, not to your roots, not to your what? Not to your ancestors. Why? Because your ancestors themselves are a part of the universe, but not the totality of the universe. Are we listening? Your ancestors are a part of nature, not the totality of nature. So we pour libation to the totality of what? Of nature, not just a part of nature. So when we say pour libation to your ancestors, no, you pour libation to connect to nature, not to your ancestors. Why? Because your ancestors themselves is part of what? Of nature, but not the totality of nature. Why? Because your ancestors have been here before. When they were here, they lived and received their nourishment from the same nature and the things around us. So they themselves was also dependent upon nature when they were here. So they are not the totality of nature. So they are not the totality of nature. They are just what? An aspect of nature. So that's why in libation, with the African system, you call from top, bottom, you call all the corners, whatever legions are within your own culture or your own tribe or your own deity or cosmological system, you call all the deities and the energies. Then you add up what? Your ancestors, the ghosts and whatever there is. Why? Because you are calling the whole universe and not just your ancestors. So the question will be, how do you believe in your ancestors at the same time believe in reincarnation? If we are pouring libation to our ancestors, then why is reincarnation? We don't pour libation to our ancestors, we pour libation to nature. Because your ancestors will reincarnate. But nature itself is always there to serve. It is what? Nature itself is an eternal servant of itself, through itself, by itself, and for itself. Let's continue. So now, the next point. Ackkham Shiva asked me, ask them, oh, okay. I don't know which people you are talking about, but if they are, I don't know, maybe you might know the people you are talking about. Great teacher Francis Anakwami Osha, thank you very much. I'm humbled. So now let's move on. Do you know one thing? Somebody says, I'm teaching all the principles, the rules, the principles which governs libation, even before I come to how to pour libation. You need to know. You need to be before you become. You can't become before you be. You need to be before you become. So before you understand every principle of it, before you tackle it, you don't think about driving a car before you now go and pick a menu on how to drive a car. No, you will die. You commit so many mistakes against yourself. Rather, you study the menu. You learn how to drive before what? You buy a car or own a car or what? Or tell yourself, I'm going to what? Situate myself in the middle of the road and drive my car. But you don't drive the car, spark the car or start the car in the middle of the road or into the town before you now ask, how do I turn left, how do I turn right? You involve yourself in grave danger. That's not how we teach. A good teacher will teach you before he gives you. Now people do ask, how does my in pouring libation, how would I get a quick result? I've actually said it in this very lecture that your concentration, the depthness or how deeper your concentration, the strength of your concentration determines the energy that you project and the energy that will be generated at the point of what? Of libation. That will determine the force of what? Of the energy which is projected towards your desire. And then what? And then what? And the time in which and the time which what? Which will take from what? From the point of what? Libation to the time what? Your desire what? Will come. So how does my results become manifested? One, the point what? The level of concentration at the point of libation is a principle you need to observe. Two, the reality or how realistic your desire is. What did I say? How realistic your desire is. You can't be working for somebody whilst you are earning 10 cedi a day. How does what? How I think I read a question over here. Let me answer that. If there is reincarnation, whose reincarnation are you? If the same people are to return back to life after death, why are our numbers growing? This topic is not part of the topic I'm treating now, but let me answer you. This is what you need to know. There are souls in the plants, the trees, the animals. Everything in life has life. Everything what? Within nature has life. No matter how you classify it according to science or whatever. Everything has life. Because life can only come from life. The air you breathe is giving you life. So if the air itself had no life, would it have been able to give you life? No. This is the answer to your question. The more and more people what? People come. Our numbers you see today. What is it? The numbers we see today in life, or the numbers we see on earth right now. What is happening to our earth right now? The greater our numbers, the more destruction we perform to our environment. Right or wrong? This is what you need to know. The more and more people destroy their environment, the more and more those souls living what? In the bodies of the plants and animals reincarnate into what? Into humans. And that's what we observe. So the number that we see in the surge in the number of human population is due to the fact that those souls which should have what? Which should have embodied what? The animalistic degree of what? Of evolution, and the plants are all reincarnating as what? As humans. And what? And the more we reincarnate what? As humans, the more destruction we do upon the plants. And the more we destroy them, the what? The more they also assume human forms. Because nature always creates a balance. And this is what manifests evidentially as what? As the larger the number of what? Of humans on earth, the more destruction, or the greater what? The dependency on the environment. And the lesser the number of humans on earth, the larger what? The numbers of what? Of the trees and the plants, because there'll be lesser dependency upon what? Upon the trees, the plants, and everything around us. That's the answer to your question. Now let me continue. Where did I get to? How to attain what? Quicker manifestation of your desires when you libate. I said your level of concentration at the point of libating. 1. 2. 2. I said your mind or your state of consciousness at the point of performing libation. That's 1. Point number 2 is based upon what? Is based upon the frequency, the number of times you libate. That's point number 3. Point number 2 is what? Is how realistic your desire is. You can't be working and getting 10 cedi a day, and you be what? And you pour libation saying that I want to get 10 billion in next 2 weeks. It wouldn't happen. Why? Because naturally, before even libation, naturally, you don't fall within the vibrational pattern of what? Of 10 billion. Because the work that you do, the mind, the effort that you put in, and the activities that you do does not fall within the what? The money frequency of what? Of billions. Rather what? 10 cities. So you can only get and manifest within what? Your energy frequency of what? Of wealth and money. But you can't be within the energy frequency or the money frequency of what? Of 10 cities. And you want to what? You want to manifest a frequency of what? Of 10 billion in 2 weeks. No. Your desire is unrealistic, so it wouldn't come to pass. You can't be working, only making 50 cities, and you are praying, and you are praying, to buy a car, to buy a Rolls Royce, which costs about $500,000. At the end of the month, it wouldn't happen. Why? Because even the activity, the job you do, does not fall in line with the what? With your source of income. Your source of income does not fit into your desire. So naturally, you don't even fit into your desire. So it's unrealistic. The fourth point is time you give to the exercise. The more time you give, the quicker the manifestation. The more time you give, the better for the manifestation. You can't just perform something today and tell me tomorrow I need a result. It happens. But it is based upon what? Upon the time, place, and circumstance of desire. What did I say? Time, place, circumstance. You can't tell me by next week I should be able to build my house. So I'm pouring libation. I need a house to I want to own my own house. So by next week I should own my own house. It wouldn't happen. Why? Because the desire that you place, or the desire that you are sending or projecting to the universe, is a desire that demands time. To be able to build a house, you need the land. You need capital to build. You need to plan. After getting the land, you even need to go to the Lands Commission. You need to find a surveyor to come and survey the land. Prepare your indenture and everything. Go to wherever, perform all the necessary documentations. Get a draftsman or an architect to now plan and design a building for you. Now, get people, get masons, whatever, and that wouldn't take a week. Your desires is unrealistic. So the fulfillment of your desire is also based upon how realistic your desire itself is. Like somebody who doesn't work, and you're pouring libation. You don't want to work. You're pouring libation. I want to get money. Whilst you're not going out to work, first, why don't you rather go out there to go and work? So instead of pouring libation to ask for work, you should have rather asked for what? Instead of pouring libation to be asking for money, you could have rather asked what? Ask for what? Ask for work. Because in working, automatically money will come to you. Because by the principles of nature, it's only true when you work that you get money. You'll be paid, because money is what? Is the what? Is a symbol for what? For a service rendered. But you're not working and you want money. How would this desire manifest? So you don't just pour libation. You pour libation and make your desires fall in line with the principles of nature. That's the fifth law. Make your desires fall within the principles of nature. Otherwise, you are going to incur more karma. You think you've acquired what? You've made your desires fulfilled, but in what? Fulfilling your desire, you've incurred more negative karma, which you will live to face. Now the sixth law, put yourself into the reaction. What did I say? Put yourself into the reaction. You don't libate that you want work, or you want job, you want money. Maybe you're a taxi driver, you want somebody to call you. You want somebody, or you want a taxi to drive, and then you'll be in your room. You want an employment, and it's for you to be employed at work. You have put your certificate at home. You are sleeping at home. You wouldn't write an application letter to seek for any employment at any vacancy or job. But you pour libation that you should what? You want what? An employment. Will you get it? No. Go out there. Go to where there are vacancies. Submit your CV and your what? And your application letter so that you become what? So that you can be what? You can be considered as a part of their minds and decision making when they're making decision on who to choose. That's how physically you put yourself into the reaction to fulfill your desires. I always say spirituality is not magic. As a lot of people try to always portray spirituality as magic, that once you enter the path of spirituality, you become all-knowing. Automatically, you can command things to your favor. No, you are still human. You are still limited. You still have human limitations. And if you don't observe your human self and your human principles and the things you need to do for yourself as a human, you will always fail. And in the end, you will blame the things which were only there to assist you, to guide you intuitively to achieve what you want. So, put yourself in the reaction. When you sleep, nothing will happen. This is common sense. As somebody will say, common sense. Now, the next principle of pouring libation is what? Learning to perform what? The art of what? Of charity. I think my time is getting up. Today I'll make it very short. Go and think over this. We will come to continue on the part 2. Where I'll now give you the scientific approach and the things which happens when you pour libation, when you call this God, this ancestor, whatever. These are the things that happen. I'll use a diagram to explain everything for us to understand. This is how we learn. Jesus resuscitou et nosque cremos em Christo Jesus resusciteremos também no último dia. Oh, really? So Jesus is the only resurrected one, right? Is that what you are saying? And he's the only one we should what? He's the ultimate one we should worship. Josué Fonseca Marcheneiro. Oh, thank you, brother. That's your point. Don't mind me, I was only trying to read some. Is it Portuguese or Spanish? Anyways. Anyways. So, learn to perform the art of charity. I think I've done a lecture once on that. You can watch a video on my page where I treated the law of giving. When you want your desires fully fulfilled or quickly fulfilled, try to perform zakat, as the Muslim will say, zakat, the law of giving. The law of giving. Practicing the law of giving also helps facilitate the quicker manifestation of your desires with libation, with prayer, with affirmation, with invocation, with conjuration. Try to give more. Okay, thank you, brother. The tree produces oxygen for your survival. You don't produce carbon dioxide for yourself. You breathe, and in breathing you produce carbon dioxide for your own, for the survival or for the benefit of the tree. Everything in nature is serving the other. Everything in nature is for the service of the other. Everything in nature is giving of itself to the other. Right? So, the law of giving is a law of nature, of which every principle within nature is what? Is manifesting what? Itself, or giving off its own what? Its own good and quality for the benefit and service of the other. So giving is a law of nature. So if giving isn't even a law, put it in your mind. Humanity needs humanity to survive. When you go to the hospital, you needed somebody, a doctor, a nurse, who is working over there to serve you and save your life. Now, the money you pay at the hospital, because they also need to feed their family, the money you pay is also there to what? To help them and support them to sustain their families. So in life, everything is given in one way or the other, conditionally or unconditionally, for the benefit of the other. So we are of service to each other within nature. This is the principle you need to put over here. So the law of giving, which is a whole topic of its own. In giving, you attract abundance. That's why it is said, that's what the religious person or the religious will say what? You attract what? Blessing upon yourself. Or darshan upon yourself. In giving, you are attracting what? Abundance from nature. Because as the saying goes, to him more is given, more is expected. And the more you know, the more you do. The more you give, the more you get. The more you get, the more you give. It is a principle of nature. Whoever will do it will get the benefit of it, irrespective of the culture, the religion, or whatever gender or race that you belong to. The result will come. It is a universal law. So if you want your ritual, if you want your desires, if you want your libational desires to be what? To be quickly fulfilled, try to adapt to what? The principle of what? Of giving. Whether to charity, to the homeless, to whatever, to the needy, to the widow, to a school, to any good cause. What am I saying? I said to any good or progressive cause in life, which will be for the benefit of humanity. Give. That will facilitate what? The manifestation of your desire. I think today we've treated something. If the masters permit, listen to this. Let's allow this thing to sink down, to seep into our brains and deep down. And if the masters permits, if the universe permits, on Tuesday, same time, we will come here on this same channel. If you are new to this channel, please, straightforward, go there, like and follow us, so that you can be able to receive every update whenever I come live, or we come live. And you can also share this video for others to benefit from this nectar of wisdom, which nature is working through me for the benefit of we all. And you can follow me on YouTube, Lord Ackkham, or Spiritual Scientist Ghana. You can also check, like my page and follow my page, my personal page, Lord Ackkham, and also this page. So do that, and then we shall learn more. Today, I only came here to open up your mind and prepare your mind for the teachings that follow, the deeper teachings that follow. We'll be treating this. Treat the scientific aspect. On the scientific aspects, not only that, we shall be moving from there and now teach the ebusia, the akamfo ebusia, the akamfo inton, the number of akamfo, or because I am an akan, the number of akamfo inton, the ebusia, and even the gods that we have, the gods and goddesses, their hierarchies, and how we arrange them in all cultures. How the gods are arranged. We come to talk about the abosom and how the abosom are stratified, their levels, their hierarchies, even with the abosom itself, and their functionalities. The abosom brafo, the abosom penyi, the abosom ba, the sikabosom, In every shrine, we have Sikabosom, we have Bosomba, we have Bosombrafo, and we have Bosompenyin. All these things are there. We shall be treating it. So you know that this culture that we speak about is very deep. And it's not just for just any average person, but for all humanity to understand. It goes very deep. Let's put ourselves to it. Tuesday, we shall come to continue. This month on this page, I label this month on this page. This month on this page is what? Is the African what? Is the African month. I don't call it the Black History Month. I call it the African what? Month. There is no black person. We only have what? Brown complexion. There's no black, there's no white. It's only brown and different what? Different tones of what? Of brown. I'll come to that and you understand. You're going to think deeper, teach deeper into all these things. If you have questions, let me have your questions. I'm about to pick questions. So please let the questions come in. I think we've overspent our time for today. Please, I'm waiting for your questions. Can I have your questions? I'm waiting for your questions, please. Please bombard me with questions concerning this topic. Let me address it for you. I need questions for me. If you don't give me questions, I'm not happy. You should get me questions concerning this topic for me to answer. Okay, let me try reading some questions over here. Okay, I think I have a question over here from our brother Ajokupo Mensa. He is asking us, does dress code matters when it comes to pouring libation? Does dress code matters when it comes to pouring libation? It is a yes and a no. If you are pouring libation, if you are pouring libation in a setting which demands a type of what? Of dressing. Per se, we have every shrine and the type of what? Of outfits that they used to wear. Per se, when you go to the Ewe lands or the shrines of the Ewes, the Votarians, in their shrines, they don't wear full regalia. Rather, they what? They tie a cloth around their waist and leave their chest. The women and also what? Upon their chest. This is the dressing for their traditional what? Place. Or this is the traditional dress for what? For their shrine. Or for their holy place. So if your libation is in respect, so if your libation is what? That's why I said libation, how to perform libation, where to perform libation, when. That's the time, place, and circumstance should always be considered when you're performing libation. So if it is at a shrine and you're performing a libation, know the rules of that shrine, because maybe at that point you're performing a libation to a deity, a god, and that shrine and this deity have a what? Have a type of what? Of outfit which needs to be worn. Perform that. When you go to the Hindu temple, they have their dress, they have what? They have the costume which needs to be worn. Before we're performing what? Hindu what? Rituals. When you are in the temple, you need to observe such things. Do you get it? So it's a yes and a no. If not, you can wear any attire to perform what? Libation. If you're even in a suit, you can still perform libation. Provided you're not uncomfortable, which will distract you from concentrating on the activity and the what? And the ritual you are performing. That's the most important thing. Wherever thought goes, energy follows. So be in your right state of mind. Whatever will distract you from the activity should what? Should be discarded as much as you can. So it's a yes and a no. Thank you. Nana Kwame, which time is best to pour libation? Every time. Every time is best to pour libation. Okay, Josue Fonseca Macheneiro. Grateful. You are welcome, brother. Shed, don't forget to keep the fire. Thank you, Sister Rose. Can I call my late mom in form of libation? Yes, you can. But is she the only person you can call? There are other things which are more powerful than her. You can call her, there's nothing wrong. But if there are other stronger energies than her, why call? When I say this, people say, but that's not how the culture says it. We have spiritual truth and we have culture and we have what? And we have spiritual cultural truth. We have spiritual what? We have spiritual philosophy and we have spiritual cultural philosophy. Certain philosophies are philosophies of what? Of a culture. And because they are what? They are philosophies of a culture does not necessarily mean that it is the same truth that reflects in the spiritual form. Bear in mind. I know this libation are asking about calling your what? Your mom. You are going to ask about certain things. But if the soul needs to travel the journey after life, so I always ask myself, then why do you always libate to call them back? To do what? Allow them to continue the journey. Because the journey does not end at death. So why are you always calling them back? If you are traveling to Kumasi and always call you back to Accra, would that be suitable for you? So I always say, libate and call those sisters with the right intentions. Where and when necessary, use your senses. Let's apply wisdom. It's like it is gathering getting out of hand. We need to begin to address that. If there is reincarnation and the soul needs to what? Needs to evolve and move on from there. Why are you always keeping it what? Why are you always keeping it stagnated and imprisoned to your what? To your selfish desires? That's the point we need to be addressing when the time is up. I'll get to that point. You said last time that adding salt to the drink you using to pour libation will stimulate the libation. Thank you very much. So that's one point of getting quicker manifestation of desires. I've already taught it. Thank you. Any more questions? I think my time is already up. I've been able to outrun my time 14 minutes. I've eaten into my time 14 good minutes. If there's no question, then we shall call it a day. Thank you for being with me throughout this very lecture. Greater things are coming. This month is dubbed on this very channel or this page the African month, the African spiritual month, or the African spiritual cultural what? Month. We are going to go deeper in there and digest them each and every point scientifically, empirically, experimentally, to prove each and every aspect of what? Of the culture. At the end, you will get to understand which part of what? Of these practices are invalid and which part is valid. May the blessing be. May the universe be with us all and bless us all in all our endeavors. Okay, direction to face to pour libation. The most suitable direction to face in order to pour libation. I'm only answering this. My time, I would have ignored it for the next teachings. The best direction to face to pour libation is the east, the point of the rising sun. Why is the earth? Why is the earth spinning on this axis? From the west to the east, which makes the sun appear to rise from the east to the west. Why? Because the sun is moving towards what? Its energy source, which is the sun. And the earth is moving towards what? The energy source of what? Of our local universe. The sun. So in pouring libation, we face the direction of what? Of the sun. To pour libation. So you face east, because that's the energy source. Secondly, if you are pouring libation and you are in a shrine, or you are pouring libation to a spirit, if you are before the shrine itself is there, the deity is before you and you are pouring libation. Such libation should be poured directly towards what? Whichever direction the deity is what? Is. So if the deity and this shrine is in the west, you pour libation to the west. So you look at the deity and the shrine and you pour libation to it. If the libation is directed and channeled towards that very deity, you pour libation before that deity and not the direction that you want. Thank you very much. We shall call it a day. May the universe be with you. I thank you all for being with me and giving me a listening ear. Sacrificing your time to come and listen and learn. I'm nourished by your time giving me. And I hope you're also nourished by the little I have realized and have given out. May the blessing be. Baraka Bashad.